Today's session now. All we did so far is recap and few other jokes. So the topic for today's session is called Manual of Life. And the tagline is Access Truth Beyond Defects. What are those defects? And what is the manual? And of course, you have heard this analogy we usually call the Bhagavad Gita, the manual of life. But why should we even accept Bhagavad Gita? Or any other scriptures, shastras for that matter? And why can't I hear what the scientists are saying and accept what the scientists are saying? Why should I? And when there is a conflict, Darwin says we came from monkeys, and Vedas or the Shastras say we came from a different source. So which one should I accept? This is a very, very fundamental way of looking at spirituality. So maybe you have enough faith in Shastras and scriptures already, and if you do, this session hopefully will give you some tools with which you can convince others in your family or your friends, and maybe for the younger generation, hopefully this will be certainly very thought-provoking. So all of us know we have this body, which is like a machine. We know we put some food in here, somehow it gets digested, and we get energy. We have no idea what goes on inside. And more importantly than the digestion system is the mind. We were discussing in few sessions earlier how the mind can be the best of your friends or the worst of your enemies. So it's still, for the modern science, it is elusive how the mind works. And we were talking in very detail about the order. So there is senses, and above the senses is the mind. Above the mind is the intelligence. Above the intelligence is the false ego, and above that is the soul, like that. So modern science is still struggling on the plane of mental at the moment. But so before we begin, there are some indefeatable Vedic truths. For example, before 1910, I think, it is believed that plants didn't have life. I don't know if you studied Chandra Bose, his name, I forgot complete name. Jagadish Chandra Bose. Jagadish Chandra Bose is the one who did study on plants having life. But our Vedas, they actually speak about there are living in two types of living entities, Chara and Achara. Chara means somebody moving, Achara means non-moving living entities. So we had this concept from a long time, but from a scientific community's point of view, somebody has to prove, has to study, and then only then it's widely accepted by people. Oh, okay, plants also have life. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam is a 12 canto book. It's 12 skandhas, and then the third skandha of that book, third canto, there is a very beautiful description of embryology. What happens on the first day when the baby enters the womb? What happens on the 7th day? What happens on the 3rd week, 14th week, like that. Actually, every minute detail is very beautifully described. This is a 5,000-year-old book that was written by Vedavyas in his spiritual maturity, and that book speaks about embryology. And then cow dung and cow products. Only recently has this trend caught up that cow dung. I mean, I'm sure many of us who are from villages, they use this for plastering the walls. It's used as an antiseptic. For cooking also, yes. And there are many, many things like that, like the Ayurvedic medicine. The English medicine usually has a lot of side effects. I don't know if you noticed, but any advertisement of any tablets they give, it's a 20-second advertisement, and in the end, last 10 seconds, they give side effects, super fast side effects. I don't know if you have experience.
Yes.
If you watch the ad.
One interesting thing about side effect, one of the tablet, I don't know which one, side effect was death. I was like, I was not seeing it, but I was listening, and it's like side effect was death. Like, what kind of side effect is death? Right? I don't know which one. I'll find out and let you know. But I was shocked to hear that side effect is death.
No point of taking that medicine.
Exactly.
So it's like gambling. Okay, if I take this tablet, will I live or die?
Is it worth living with this pain or dying?
Alright, there are also many other Vedic sciences like yoga, the physical bodily yoga has caught up in the last 20-30 years. Usually people go to gym, build up muscles, but yoga is considered to be more well-rounded. It's also people who do yoga have more peaceful. So now this term yoga and then the asanas are also catching up. Vedic mathematics, Vedic cosmology, so that's also, and astronomy and astrology. I mean, there are many Jyotisha. Jyotisha actually is a shastra, very beautiful shastra. If we study, someone has experience studying it, we can really appreciate how that's a wonderful. And then there is Vastu Shastra. I'm sure some of you, while buying houses, east facing, north facing, like that. So, and it is actually believed. It's not even in modern science. There is so many. Research with respect to the configuration of the house has a positive impact on the thought process and the living conditions of people. There's so many more. There is also something about Vimana Shastra. We will see little more about it. And then organic farming. Actually, maybe about 30-40 years ago. Very interesting. I also didn't know this. Organic food was the norm. Everybody was eating organic food, and then the artificial food, GMO, genetically modified. So that food was more expensive in the beginning actually.
Yes.
But it was more colorful, no blemishes, no seeds. So everybody was, oh, this is very nice. So people started buying it anyway. Then eventually it became cheaper. But now the trend is reversing.
Yes.
People are noticing that, oh, this has so many problems that people came to know after 30-40 years. Oh, you got cancer? Oh, because you're eating these type of food. So like that. Okay, so with that, this is the what we're going to discuss today. So we're going to discuss a story of 6 blind men. And then there are 3 ways to gain knowledge. All of us have 3 ways to gain knowledge. How many ways? 3 ways. We will talk about what those 3 ways are. But unfortunately, we have 4 defects. And we will talk about those also. And can scientific research give us complete knowledge? And at the end, how Vedas offer perfect and complete knowledge. We will talk about all those things. Okay, so here is the story. So in the picture, so once there were 6 blind men. So each of them went to different part of an elephant, and they were trying to understand what an elephant looks like. So the first person was hanging on to the trunk of the elephant. What do you think he said? What would be his perception of an elephant?
It will be so thin.
So he thought actually the elephant is like a snake. The second person was hanging on to the tail. And he said, elephant must be like a rope. The third person was touching the ears of the elephant. And he said, this is like the old fan. So it must be like a fan. Elephant must be like a fan. The fourth person was feeling the tummy of the elephant. Do you know what he guessed the elephant to be?
Trampoline.
Wall. Let's give an applause for it. What's her name? I forgot. Ashvi, okay. And then the fifth person was holding on to tusks. What do you think he thought the elephant looks like? Shiva.
I was amazing, man.
What's that?
Tusks.
If you're, let's say, imagine we can't see, we're only feeling the tusk of the elephant.
Like a sword.
Like a sword.
Yeah.
Very nice. This is like Kaun Banega Crorepati. And the sixth person was holding on to the leg of the elephant. What do you think he would guess the elephant to be?
Pillar.
Tree trunk. Pillar. Tree trunk. Tree trunk is probably more accurate because it's rough. So each of them, so the fifth person is saying, no, you are all fools. You're not understanding it properly. Elephant looks like a sharp sword. The sixth person is saying, no, you are completely crazy person. What sharp? I only feeling tree trunk type of. So what do you think?
Perception.
So is who is right?
Everybody.
Everybody is right.
Everybody is wrong.
Everyone's right.
Everybody is right.
Yeah.
Everybody is partially right.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in one sense, they are all wrong because of their limited purview. So how can they get the complete picture? We will talk at the end. So keep this in the mind. Oh, okay. So we have like a fan, like an arrow, like a tree trunk. So okay, so we said 3 ways to gain knowledge. Something called pratyaksha praman, direct sense perception. So we see, and okay, it's a book, it's a wall, it's a light, like that. So that's pratyaksha praman. The second type is called anuman praman. I'll very quickly go through this because we have very less time. And many of us probably are familiar with some of this. And the third one is called shabda praman. So we will talk. So what is the first one? Pratyaksha praman means direct sense perception. So now, many people say seeing is believing. Is seeing really believing? No?
Not fully.
Not necessary.
Not necessarily.
Okay, so here is a good picture for us to. So what do you see here?
The railroads.
A railway track. And then what do we see the railway tracks? Are they parallel always? They're parallel always?
They are parallel, but it looks like they are merging at the end.
It looks like it's actually converging.
Merging.
Right? So, if seeing is believing, whoever is on the train would immediately jump off the train. Oh God! Crazy engineer who built this railway track. So here is a child looking into a convex and a concave mirror. In one picture, he looks himself to be taller, and in another, shorter. So clearly, that's not true. And here is another example. Is the pencil broken here?
No. But it appears to be.
Looks like there are 2 different pieces of pencil. Manufacturing defect. But this is refraction. Similarly, of course, the mirage is a very common example we will find in the summer in Bay Areas. So none of this is true. So seeing is certainly not believing, and as most of you said, not most of the times, maybe some of the times it's alright. So we cannot acquire complete knowledge using our material senses like eyes, ears, tongue, taste, smell. Not guaranteed to be accurate all the time. Why? So the answer is because we have 4 defects. So Pratyaksha Praman, we're talking about direct sense perception, has 4 defects. What are those 4 defects? This is the main thing to take away from the session. So if you are feeling sleepy, this is the time to wake up. So make notes of this and please go back to your sleep. We will not disturb you. Alright, so first one. It's called imperfect senses. All of us have, it is mentioned, Shastras say that we have imperfect senses. Anybody claims that we have 20/20 vision, no imperfections in our senses? All of our senses, actually, we will elaborate a little more. And the second defect is to be illusioned. And the third defect is the tendency to commit mistakes. and the fourth one is cheating propensity. We will look at each of them independently. So imperfect senses. Imagine our eyes actually, who knows the rainbow colors? Kids. Can you name? Kovi.
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple.
Can we see anything beyond those colors?
Like, there's like white, brown, black.
Those are secondary colors, but basically beyond the visible light, living entities actually cannot see wavelengths shorter and longer also. But they do exist. I mean, many times when they take the pictures of the black hole or other galaxies, they take pictures outside this wavelength, and then to make it look graphically appealing, they make it impose colors and do something to make it interesting for us. So, but we understand this. Our eyes cannot actually see every visible light, every wavelength of the light, only very short. Same thing with our ears also. We cannot hear outside. If it's less than 20 hertz, we can't hear. 200 kilohertz also we can't hear. So that's why it is mentioned in California, especially the place we live in, earthquakes, they emit lower wavelengths. So only dogs, cats, they start jumping up and down, and we wonder why are they, and then 15 minutes later we realize, oh, that was a signal for earthquake. But we can't hear. We'll skip this part. So we accept that our senses are not perfect at least. Okay, second defect is to be illusioned. Because our senses are not perfect, naturally we will make mistakes. I mean, we have a tendency to be illusioned. So as an example, let's say you eat gulab jamun and then taste orange. It will actually taste soury. So if you tasted something sweet and then orange, it feels soury. But let's say you tasted lemon first. I'm sure all of you are making notes. Huh, really? Take home experiment. So if you take lemon first and then taste orange, it actually tastes sweeter. This maybe you need to experiment, but the next one you probably already have this experience. If your hand is warm and you touch lukewarm water, it appears cool. But if you have cold hand or cold feet and you take warm water, little warm water, it feels hot. I mean, I experienced this. You go into the shower, you test, because the hands are out most of the time, so they become very cold. You adjust the temperature and try to put with your hand, this is hot enough. And then you put it on your body, it feels cold. What is this? So, the point here is, because the second defect is to be illusioned. We think something that is not. Okay, few more pictures. What do you see in this picture? Every picture here, the next few pictures has some illusion associated with it. So what do you see in this picture?
You can see both old king and old.
Okay, somebody sees a old woman. Anybody who doesn't see old woman here in this picture? We will help you see. You don't see an old woman? Okay, so this is the nose of the old woman. And this is the mouth, very small lips. And this is the eye. Okay? And then what else do we see?
A small kid watching.
A young girl or boy. We live in California, difficult to say boy. But we'll take it, we'll say girl. So here looking in that direction apparently. This is the cheek. It's called cheek, right?
Cheek.
This is cheek.
That's
Ear.
here. Eyes,
Eyelid.
nose.
Little bit of nose.
Yeah. Yep.
Same picture, but we see two different pictures.
Yep.
What do you see in this picture?
Triangle.
Circle, triangle.
3 parts.
Somebody played a lot of games in their childhood. A triangle, a white triangle, or we also see 3 incomplete circles. What do you see in this picture?
A cylinder. Oh, it's a mover, huh?
A musician.
Like in the middle of there's like a cylinder like that.
Okay, so the next one, keep moving from left to right. As you're saying, move your head left to right. You'll notice, is this image moving or stationary?
Stationary.
How many people think this is moving?
It appears moving.
It appears to be
It appears moving.
illusion to be moving.
How about this? Keep moving your head in a circular motion. Do you see anything?
No.
You don't see anything?
Stop, then we start moving.
Oh, okay. Actually, it looks like the circles are also moving.
Yeah.
In the next one, you come closer and go back. Focus on the center dot.
Yeah, it appears to be
Focus on the
moving.
center
The
dot.
wheel
Come
rotating.
closer and go out.
Oh yeah, that's what
It's wheel rotating.
It's moving.
Rotating.
I don't see it.
Come closer.
Okay. If somebody took a video without audio, you would be wondering, what is this? People have not.
We can mute this. We can mute this.
This is hypnotism. People are doing like this. So the point here is, all our senses have a tendency to be illusion. So we see things that are not. So the second effect is to be illusion. And because our senses, we can be illusioned, the third defect is we have a tendency to commit mistakes. Like for example, I think that in 1950s, I think this is mind-blowing, literally, brain was thought to be an organ to cool blood. Can you imagine that? Until 1950 or 60, I don't know the exact dates, but brain was thought to be
Cooling
like
agent.
the AC of the body.
Cooling agent.
Oh, put too much heat, okay, let's pump it to the brain. And then later on, another thing is pituitary and master glands, the gland which controls other hormonal releases in the body. It is considered to be a useless tissue in human body. Some scientists even went on to claim that if you are saying God created this body, but I see a defect in the body, this is a useless part. So God does not exist. Either your God is dumb, that he created useless parts. So there are many arguments based on this. And of course, eventually after a few decades, people found out the importance of pituitary glands. Hopefully, that scientist did not remove it in a haste. I'll skip this. Actually, they're very funny. Maybe students will appreciate this. The Hubble constant, it's actually used as a cosmic yardstick. The constant has been updated 3 times. Supposed to be a constant. Constant means it doesn't change. And the fourth defect, unfortunately, because people make mistakes and they put forward one theory and then they realize, oh, actually the results are not adding up. My reputation is at stake. So people also have this cheating propensity. The very short video we will play. So in that video we will see this. In 1912, some scientists wanted to prove that humans actually came from monkeys. So there is the fossil of the monkeys, there is a fossil of the humans, but there is no link connecting these two. So it's called missing link. For a long time, that's the desire of the scientists to find some fossil that looks like half human, half monkey. So in 1912 they found such a fossil, and they said, missing link. We found the missing link. Yahoo! Only after about 40 years later, they found that this was actually a cheating. They took top half of the human brain, human skull, filed it, and took the lower half of a monkey skull, filed it so that it could fit. And they all, of course, it took many years for them to find. There are many anomalies like that. And we will not go into each of them.
Evolutionists go so far in this subject that they can even invent very different faces for the same skull. The three entirely different reconstructions made for the fossil called Zinjanthropus is a famous example showing how persistent evolutionists are in producing these false masks.
So they found one skull and they made three different faces for the same skull.
Another intermediate transitional form fabricated by evolutionists was the Nebraska man. This was cooked up in 1922 on the basis of a single fossil tooth.
One tooth, they built the entire human Nebraska man.
As Parapithecus, Paralcuca, or to make imaginary drawings related to it. It was soon revealed that the tooth that had been the source of inspiration for Nebraska man in fact belonged to a wild pig. Many other fossil skulls have been presented as great evidence for evolution failed one by one. Neanderthal man was advanced as evidence in 1856, dismissed in 1960.
Almost 100 years later.
Was advanced as evidence in 1912, dismissed in 1953.
40 years later.
Zinjanthropus was advanced as evidence in 1959, dismissed in 1960.
This time they're quick.
Ramapithecus was advanced as evidence in 1964, dismissed in 1979.
So those are some of the aspects of cheating propensity. So scientists, everybody has an agenda. So they want to prove their theory is right. So gain popularity, money, whatnot. So then eventually we saw a video of how many of them eventually turned out to be. So far we are still on Pratyaksha Praman, direct sense perception, has 4 defects we spoke. The second one is called Anuman Praman. Like, let's say I'm sitting here, I hear some noise coming from the rooms, then I will speculate. Some kids might be playing in the room. Sometimes you have this, so you go to the room, you're thinking maybe wife and husband are fighting inside. And then you open the door, you'll see that actually just a TV is going on and Gemini serial is going on. So it's basically guesswork. Anuman Praman means to guess, okay, based on what I'm hearing or seeing, what might be happening is what is called Anuman Praman. Based on the observation, guesswork. And because unfortunately our senses are imperfect, even Anuman Praman also sometimes leads to imperfections or not complete truth. People who are doing this guesswork, they say, it may have been like this. Perhaps it was like that. So the moment you hear, maybe, then that's it. I am sorry. I'm not interested in what your theory is. So there are very, very humorous Darwin theory things that are mentioned. Actually, once I mentioned this joke earlier. One girl asked her father, Papa, where did I come from? Where did all the human beings come from? So the dad said, we came from monkeys. So monkeys evolved and eventually we became human beings. The daughter is satisfied. Next day she thought and she went to the mother. And she asked, Mama, where did humans come from? She said, God created humans. God created this world, God created humans. She went back and she thought, Arey, both of them are saying two completely different things. So she went back to the mother and she asked, but yesterday dad said that we came from monkeys. But you are saying God created us. And the mom said, oh, that. I am talking about my side of the family. He is talking about his side of the family.
Oh, it happened in your house too?
That's just a joke though. So here, Darwin theory of evolution. He wrote a book called The Origin of Species. It's very, very interesting what he wrote in some of the comments that he made. Since the second mic is not working, I'll ask Satya to read some of this. Yeah, you can.
In one of his letters to A.R. Wallace, December 22nd, 1857, Darwin wrote, I am a firm believer that without speculation there is no good in original observation. After 5 years' work, I have allowed myself to speculate on the subject and drew up some short notes that I enlarged in 1844 into a sketch of the conclusions, which seemed to me probable, ordinary speaking.
So he saw 5 years, he observed something, and then you see the wording. He speculated, and then he made conclusions, sketch conclusions, and now it seems probable to him. So here is another picture that depicts that actually human beings and monkeys coexisted for millions of years. Actually, they found more than 3.5 million years ago is the oldest known human fossil. So it proves actually that human beings and apes simultaneously existed for millions of years ago. So man coming from monkeys is a false theory. And here is another one. This is wild actually.
How the bear evolved into a monstrous whale. In North America, the black bear was seen swimming for hours with its mouth wide open, thus catching like a whale insects in water. Even so, an extreme case as it is, if the supply of insects were constant and if better adapted competitors did not already exist in the country, I can see no difficulty in a race of bears by natural selection. More and more aquatic in structure and habits, with larger and larger mouths, till a creature was produced as monstrous as a whale.
So he's saying that the bear went for swimming. It opened its mouth wide, and as it started swimming many hours every day, eventually after a few generations, Darwin is saying in his Origin of Species book, he's saying that I can see no difficulty in seeing that bear will eventually turn into a whale. How many of you agree that it's possible? Okay, only Ramesh can agree.
Basically, the giraffe example.
We will talk about giraffe. So here is an example. You see few giraffes. So one giraffe fell down on the ground here because it wasn't able to reach the top of the tree. Other giraffes nicely eating. So here he is saying, we'll not read the whole thing. But the funny question that people ask is, there is grass on the ground.
Exactly.
So why should giraffe has to grow tall necks to eat? And even if, let's say, there is no grass altogether, but there were so many other animals also. There are other quadrupeds like deer and so many other animals that doesn't have long necks. they lived, the fossil fuel records show that they also existed long before giraffes. They existed with giraffes in the same spots also. So, very interesting. And another question is, if monkeys have evolved to humans, why are monkeys still surviving in the present day? Why didn't all monkeys turn into human beings? So there are many loopholes like that. Of course, we accept a theory of evolution, not of the body, but of the soul. The soul actually goes through this transformation based on, I think if you remember, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadata bhava bhavitah. Whatever is the consciousness of the living entity at the time of death is what we attain in our next life. So there is many examples. If all we are thinking about is food at the time of leaving, it is mentioned that we get a body of a pig. All our life, we are thinking of the opposite gender. We will in our next life. So if the husband is thinking, if I die, what will happen to my wife? Oh my wife, oh my wife. He will become a woman in his next life. And vice versa also. Somebody who is voraciously eating meat throughout his life, usually that's what we take shelter. Whatever we have done throughout our life is what we will remember at the time of death. So that's what we become. So we believe in that evolution of the soul. Based on how we live this life, our desires, we channel our desires, and eventually we will end up in a different place. Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit. Okay, this is interesting, especially for the youth. So what is the problem in making mistakes in research? Alright, version 1.0 they made some mistake, version 2.0 they'll fix. They may introduce new bugs, new issues, but eventually they'll keep reiterating and we will get better version of. So what's the problem? Technology has given me laptops. It's so funny, sometimes people challenge. You are talking against science while using the tools of science. Like that. They say, if a thief takes one of the car and runs in a car, the police, he can't say, no, I will start running behind him. No, he takes a faster car and runs. So similarly, we use technology in service of God. We don't use technology for our own enjoyment per se. But here, a person is asking, technology has given me so many tools and toys. Xbox, anybody plays here? Wants to play, I suppose?
I play.
Virtual reality. Actually, it is mentioned because of the consequence of the technology. We have so much more better technology, but unfortunately, sleeplessness has increased. ADHD, attention disorder, has increased. Obesity is on the rise. Many of us have become couch potatoes. Netflix, next. And then, even though we live in a very connected world, most connected it has ever been. Just a push of a button. Grandmother, grandfather, you can know what your friends are doing all around the world. Just you open your phone and you know. But still, we are, as a society, most disconnected society there has ever been. People are more lonelier now than they have ever been.
Yeah, true.
These technology is supposed to help, but unfortunately, it looks like it's not helping, but doing the opposite. Okay, here is interesting bubonic plague. This is in the 1350s. It wiped out 2/3 of the entire Europe's population. So that's the scale of this particular plague. It's like COVID. COVID, thankfully, less than 0.1%, maybe even less people died. But can you imagine? Bubonic plague. So the researchers thought, cat is the one that's spreading this particular plague. So they caught hold of all the cats and they killed all the cats. But the plague enraged and spread even more widely. And they said, Tuch, sorry, Actually, it's not the cats, but the rats. But unfortunately, they killed all the cats. So rats population grew much bigger. So that's why the plague spread much more faster. So, and you can see the picture how rapidly it grew and wiped off 2/3 of that population of Europe at that point. So there is a story once one airplane cleaner went into the cabin of the pilot and he was cleaning and he saw a book, How to Fly Aeroplane, Volume 1.
Yes.
So he opened the book. He said, to start the aeroplane, press the red button. He said, oh, interesting. I wanted to fly an aeroplane all my life. He pressed the red button. So the engine started like that. Then, nice, working. So he turned to the next page. He said, to start moving, press the blue button. He said, oh, where is the blue button? Okay. Then it started moving and it started gaining speed. Then he said, okay, let me turn to the next page. He said, to start flying, press the green button. I said, okay, all right. Press the green button. And then the aeroplane took off. He was so satisfied, so thrilled, so excited. He flew for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, he thought, this is enough. Satisfied for today. He turned to the next page. Let me land the aeroplane. He said, to learn how to land the aeroplane, please purchase volume 2 at nearest bookstore. So ignorance is bad, but half knowledge is sometimes even more dangerous and destructive at times actually. So sometimes the solutions for one problem creates even bigger problems. I don't know if any of you know, in 1980s I think, they invented the first, the refrigerators, CFC based refrigerators. And after using the refrigerators for 10 years, they found a big hole in the ozone layer. I mean, they had no idea that, okay, and then they did reverse engineering to debugging, and then they eventually found, okay, we messed up. And then they fixed. So there are many, in the history of modern human civilization, there are many problems like that. One solution for one problem creates a bigger problem altogether. Do you know anyone knows any examples like that in your own life or in your own experience? Okay. I hope none of us will make that blunders. So we spoke about Pratyaksha Praman, direct sense perception, and the 4 defects associated with it. And then we spoke about deduction, Anuman Praman, through deduction. I'm hearing some sound, it must be this. So conclusions based on our speculation. So we understand both of them have a problem with it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll play this funny video quickly. He sees a new machine. What is this? So the key to happiness is complete knowledge that is free from any mistakes And what is that key? Where is that manual that can explain everything, the whole cosmic machine and all that? Is the Bhagavad Gita, which we all know and study or trying to understand. So that's where the Shabda Praman comes along. So Shabda Pramans means hearing from a bona fide authority. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Evam parampara praptam, evam rajasya viduhu. So he says, this knowledge has been coming down in disciplic succession. So everybody heard it and then practiced it in their own life and they realized it and then they passed it on to their next predecessor. So similarly, one question we can ask, how can a child know who his father is? Modern days children will say, we will do DNA tests. But that's a long process actually, if you were to do that. There is an easier way, and that is to ask the mother itself. So similarly, Vedas are considered to be the mother. So if we want to know who our supreme father is, very easy for us. We don't have to do any experimentation like modern scientists. Okay, let me study this grass or planets or other things. No, we can simply study the Vedas, who is like the mother, and Vedas will tell us very clearly. Here is how the cosmic world is created. This is the purpose for which it is created, and this is how you reach that goal. And he is the supreme father. And so Vedas give us GK, general knowledge, but also God knowledge.
The Vedas, however,
We'll
are
skip this in the interest of time. So the Vedic process of learning is just as we have an authorized college. Let's say I go to some college and get a degree, it's not going to be authorized. So first of all, we need to go to an authorized college if we want to get education. So similarly, spiritual knowledge also, we should get education from proper sampradaya or parampara. And okay, I go to the college, and who does the professor represent? The professor usually is someone who studied under some other professor, practiced it, understood how things work, and now he is teaching. It's not that you go to a doctor, say, doctor, I have appendicitis, please do surgery. Like, okay, I saw 1,000 videos. I have never gone to any medical school, but I saw 1,000 videos. Will we stay there and get operated or run away from there? So we actually want someone who studied under another person, experienced all corner cases and know how to handle scenarios. So similarly, a professor is someone who has heard from his own guru, practiced it in his own life and realized it. And ultimately, the library is the authorized books like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ishopanishad. There are many books like that. So we will not play this video, but I'll just give you a gist of this video. So this is in California, Stanford University. They did a few PhD students. They did a research on Vimana Shastra. So they took this is a very old Shastra which speaks about building Vimana or aeroplanes. So they took an aeroplane design which is free from fuel, meaning you don't need to fill in aeroplane. I don't know what fuel they fill in. So they studied and they were able to create to some extent. Of course, they weren't able to. Most of the Vedic knowledge actually is lost in time. So that's why we don't have the complete knowledge. But they were able to create, replicate, and they were able to prove that actually this is a very much a working model. It can. We'll skip that. Okay, here is Vedic predictions. The different Vedic predictions. Srimad Bhagavatam talks about Gautam Buddha. I think he appeared around 3,000 years ago. But Srimad Bhagavatam was written 5,000 years ago. So this book actually is predicting Gautam Buddha will take birth in this place. This is the father name, mother name, and these are the activities that he will do, like that. talks about Chanakya Pandit, he is very popular. It talks about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahabharata actually speaks about how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incarnation of God who will appear in Kali Yuga and spread the Sankirtan movement. Emperor Ashoka, even more recent actually, Srimad Bhagavatam talks about different people like that. So here is a short video.
The Vedas are amongst the oldest religious scriptures known to mankind and are the source of India's spiritual and cultural heritage. At first glance, the multifaceted culture of the Vedas is a foreign and fascinating mystery to the Western eye. Yet upon deeper examination, we discover a wealth of philosophical, cultural, and social values. India is renowned the world over for the practice of yoga, which increases one's mental and physical strength. However, this is only a fraction of what the Vedas can offer to a progressive global community. India's culinary arts, music, natural medicine, and other sciences are only now becoming known to the West. Conceivably the world's oldest holistic design system, the Vastu Shastra predates and inspired the popular Chinese system of feng shui. The design of a temple, house, or workspace has been proven to exert a considerable influence on one's well-being. The Vastu Shastra was compiled specifically to address this concern and offers practical architectural guidelines. This style of sacred architecture has been implemented in the building of India's largest temples for thousands of years. The sculptures adorning these temples reflect the development and accomplishments of one of man's oldest civilizations. They depict the struggles, failures, and successes of the men who made them the center of their lives. The sophisticated Vedic sciences of astrology, astronomy, cosmology, and metaphysics profoundly influenced the Greeks, Babylonians, and even contemporary scientists with their unparalleled knowledge. Ancient Vedic sages presented precise calculations a millennium before Copernicus, Galileo, Newton, and Einstein.
Amazing how much knowledge there is. Unfortunately, it's lost in time and somehow we got disconnected. So to an extent where we even ridicule our own culture. So of course this was done systematically. We will not go through this video. How Britishers and others, in order to conquer India, systematically broke the backbone of our tradition and culture. Let's skip this also. So in science there is something called axioms. Axiom means a truth that you cannot prove that truth, but that's fundamental to prove other important things in science. So similarly, even Vedic axioms are also there.
Yeah.
We will not bother with all these technical details. So here is a very quick and important part of the presentation, which is, we say Vedic knowledge comes through these 4 disciplic successions. We mentioned that I cannot wake up tomorrow and say, okay, I'm realized, I'm going to write a new book on spirituality and everybody should follow my book. Sorry. So that's not the way it should be, as Krishna said, evam parampara praptam. So it should be in lineage, in a disciplic succession. I should get trained under a spiritual teacher, so, and vice versa, and he should have gotten trained under. So there are 4 sampradayas. Sampradayas meaning all of them are telling the same thing. Shri Sampradaya, it's not that Shri is the supreme person. She is telling who the supreme is, but under her there is a Sampradaya, there is a prominent guru, Ramanujacharya, who also says Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and he has enunciated certain rules and regulations to follow to attain the supreme. So similarly, Brahma, he enunciated certain rules and regulations and Shastra. We fall under this second Sampradaya. Madhvacharya is a prominent preacher. Rudra Sampradaya, which Lord Shiva started, and Vishnujan Swami is the prominent, and Kumara, 4 Kumaras, if you know, Nimbarkar Acharya is the prominent Acharya in that lineage. So there is a very beautiful verse in the first canto, the first chapter, the first verse of the Bhagavatam. Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye, where Krishna says, this Vedic knowledge is revealed by the Supreme within the heart of the first created being, Brahma. And Brahma then told this knowledge to Narada Muni, his son. Narada Muni in turn gave this knowledge to Vyasadeva. And like that, the lineage has come down like that. So the Vedic wisdom came down in disciplic succession through a chain of gurus.
We haven't got to manufacture something. We simply repeat the words and the instruction given by the predecessor. Krishna instructed Brahma, Brahma instructed Narad, Narad instructed Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva instructed Madhyacharya, and in this way, then Madhavendra Puri, Ishwar Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then the 6 Goswamis, then the Srinivasa Acharya, Kaviraj Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Jagannath Das Babaji, Bhakti Vinod Thakur,
These are more
Gaur Das Babaji, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and then we are doing the same thing. There is no difference. That is the specific procedure of the Krishna consciousness movement.
So actually, so this is Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. ISKCON stands for International Society for Krishna Consciousness. ISKCON stands for that. So he started that. And in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, he actually writes, if there is any credit that I can take, it is this, that I tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is given to me by my teachers. So it's not that, okay, I'm going to write, let me create something new. That's not encouraged in the spiritual circles. Because the moment we try to put in our own interpretations, because I have those 4 defects. Anybody remembers what those 4 defects are?
Senses are imperfect.
Some senses are imperfect. Our senses are imperfect. Illusion. We see train tracks merging and so many other things. So it can be illusion. Because of that, we have a tendency to make mistakes. And because we are also not very sincere, we make mistakes and we cover up. So we have a cheating propensity also. So because of this, from a regular mortal who is unable to control his senses, who is unable to gulab jamun, very nice. If we are at that level, we cannot be trusted to be a good medium like that. So, okay, the last slide of the presentation. I'm sure talking about prasadam, gulab jamun reminded us. So, what is the best way for these 6 blind men to understand what an elephant is? Any guesses?
Talk to each other.
To ask someone
Ask
who has
them.
seen. Who has eyes?
Ask to each other. Ask someone who actually sees. So there is a very beautiful verse in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It says, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. So the last line of that verse says, somebody who has seen the truth can actually impart that knowledge onto you. So you're right. Somebody who has eyes and can see, oh, elephant means all of this. All of you got partial truths only and incorrectly. So that's the part of the truth and full truth. Okay, so I think we already went through. So the goal of this session was actually in spiritual circles, we accept. If Bhagavad Gita says, usually Shastras say something that is in line with my own experience. They say you do meditation, you feel more peaceful. We do meditation, we will feel more peaceful. Anybody has opposite experience? So, and many experiences like that. I mean, people, even when I started my journey, I also realized actually, as we started learning this, we became more happy, more joyful. Even though we spend a couple of hours here, we actually feel we have more time. It's not, you come here, you're spending 2 hours, so technically you should have only 142 hours left in your week. But you will realize actually I'm becoming more productive. I have a purpose in life, and I'm more happy in general. So we will appreciate some of those aspects. So Shastras in most cases, they give us something that we can directly experience. But Shastras also do give things that we cannot experience. Many people ask, do you see God? Can you see God? So once two reporters asked Prabhupada, can you see God? Prabhupada said, what do you think? Because you don't know how God looks like, and you don't know what is the qualification to see God, you have to accept whatever I tell you. So there is a qualification to see God. Usually let's say our car has some problem. We may hear the sound many hours, but we will not be able to diagnose. You take it to a mechanic, he switches on, goes this side, he hears the problem is here, somebody did not fit this properly. And I'm also hearing the same sound. Why don't I see the problem? Because he is trained. He is trained to see those problems. So the point of this exercise, first of all, I hope it is beneficial for all of us to align that perspective. That if I'm trying to understand God through my own senses, our efforts will be futile. We will eventually end up either with wrong conclusions. So better we take Shastra. Shastra as in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why ISKCON and many other spiritual organizations, anything they quote, they usually back it off with a verse. They go, okay, I'm not saying this. Krishna is saying this in Bhagavad Gita. So if I give my own opinion, I'll think today I might like this person. I might say he is the best. Tomorrow I might like somebody else. I'll say, he is the best. So that's not the goal. Okay, so we end there for today, and we have few announcements to make.